Joe, what do you call an elf with earmuffs?
What?
It doesn't matter. See, he's wearing the earmuffs. He can't.
Right.
He can't hear you.
Okay.
Want to try again?
Sure.
Joe,
What?
what do you call a elf with earmuffs on?
What?
It doesn't matter. He's wearing earmuffs. Is that better? Okay. Hey, are you just burnt out with Christmas? Because I'm getting fed up with Christmas already. I just want to find whoever invented Christmas and nail him to a cross.
Wasn't his fault, really. It's not like he invented Christmas.
Nail him to a cross.
I hear you.
See,
The old Jesus.
Yeah, I do my impression of Jesus being nailed to a cross. It's more of a visual.
Yeah.
So, all right. Hey,
Hi.
I'm Jacques.
I'm Joe.
And sort of welcome to Carnival Personnel.
Yeah, I guess so.
Today, as we record this, today is a podcast that will live in infamy.
Yeah. Because
It's December 7th.
Yeah, it's December 7th.
Or as I like to call this day, thanks, Biff. There we go. Yeah. See, because Biff is the one.
I like how the audience is on a delay.
I'd say. Let's see. What do we got here? So, tomorrow, big day, Joe. You got plans tomorrow?
You mean last Saturday?
Last Saturday.
Whatever. Who gives a shit?
You
We're recording this on Friday.
So how was your Saturday?
It was a fun time. Yeah. You know why?
Why was that?
Because you were so kind to invite my family and I to your parents' house for your annual Christmas party.
I like how, first of all, you're giving me the credit for my house and my mom's, and that you also made sure you threw in the caveat that we invited your family
and me. Right. You know.
And you.
I just want to feel included.
We will talk about it next week a little bit. Rank which we'll all fall as loudest at the party. Will I crack the top 5? My cousin Debbie will be there.
I don't know if I know. Maybe I think I've met Debbie. I must.
You'll know.
Is Dennis there?
No, he's not. No. But my brother. I'm trying to think of who else is loud. Trisha.
Yeah.
Sister-in-law.
Okay.
Or as we like to call her, Dottie Jr.
Yeah, but we don't like to name names on this podcast.
Oh, I do. It's fine. It's fine. Yeah. So my mom's been having this party maybe at least 30 years, and I think this is we'll be over 100 people squeezed into the little shed.
Wow. Okay. So there won't be room for presents, which I don't need to bring. Thank you.
No. But there will be room for a visit from Santa.
Ooh.
And a magician that my mother keeps saying musician. And I'm like, no, he's not playing songs. Unless, he's a singing magician.
Right.
And then she would be right.
Wait, that's like peanut butter and chocolate right there. A singing magician.
Exactly. Though you can't have two great tastes together. Not without shooting somebody. I don't know. So that was it. And then by the time we record our next podcast, you would have been to Uncharted in Lowell a week from today.
Yes.
To see I cannot remember Nico with a K's band, Gold Star Boulevard, Dan Cray and his backing band.
Now, is all of this advertised on their website?
It should be. I
went to the Uncharted website, not the video game website, but the club in Lowell. And I don't know if I noticed anything resembling.
Well, they did ask if we had a Facebook event thing that they could post, and I think one of the other bands did, but I didn't put in much effort. You know how much effort you put into reading the rundown before we start this?
Oh, no.
I put in about as much effort. We have so let's see, Dan and I have had 3 practices in the last month.
So this is literally a word of mouth thing, getting the word out.
It only seats the place only can hold 99 people. Can only hold, as I like to say, Gretzky people in the room. And between the 3 bands, there should be 20 people. So, I mean, as you know, it's I love jamming, and it's a lot of fun to be between the podcast and Dan. Those are the 2 things that keep me holding on, being back in this hellhole of snow and ice. And
hey, it's been okay so far.
It's but when I say Dan and I have had 3 practices in the last month. I'm being specific there because we're not a 2-piece any longer. Although we are. But rumor is we should have our good friend Sean there tomorrow.
Great.
Well, we'll see. Well,
am I jumping the gun?
We'll see how it goes. I am excited that, again, we've added like Kenny Rogers' Ruby into the set. So looking forward to it. It's a great song. It really is a gut wrenching. It's like a dance song, but
right, sung by a much more successful artist.
Yeah, exactly.
Sorry, Dan, not to say that you're I've kind of put my foot in it. But...
I don't think you could hurt his feelings. Okay. Either drunk or sober, you couldn't. Is
that a challenge?
Actually, Dan and I had a long talk about this. So I think he's been sober 5 or 6 years.
Congratulations.
And now his daughter just turned 14, and his wife's not a drinker by any means, but every couple of weekends she goes out with her friends, and she doesn't remember Dan being Dan. And recently told him, I was like, I wish you were more like Dad and didn't drink so much. It's like the irony.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. That's like the Twilight Zone ending that you don't want to hear.
And so then Dan and I had a, pretty much heart to heart. It's like when his daughter gets to college, walks down the aisle, all bets are off. It's back to drinking. It's like it never held him back from having a job, having a house, being a dad, most of the time and stuff like that. And yeah, he's not fooling himself into thinking this is a forever thing. It's like, either she gets married and, he's done his fatherly duty and he, probably be 65, 70 by that point.
That's a good run.
And then, right, exactly.
I don't think 60 Minutes have gone that long. TV show.
Not now.
Right.
No, not with the latest. But then, and I think I'll be joining him. I think I'll get back into drinking after the kids are like, out of college and married off.
College?
Yeah, right. Trump University. We've gone down this road, you bastard. So the big news that I'm avoiding, Avengers trailer came out. Have you seen it?
I did watch it this morning.
And you are excited?
Yeah.
Endgame?
It's called Endgame. One word. Not to be confused with Highlander 4, Endgame.
There can be only one.
I know. So I don't know which movie's going to win. Probably Avengers.
Yeah, I saw like fans guessing the search for Stark was one that I liked. Of course, I haven't seen a trailer. I really hope not to. But you excited? Everything you thought it was going to be?
I think it, with the cast that they have left, I think it looks like it's going to be promising. It's an Avengers movie. They can't fuck it up. Like, it's been good to this point. It's the 10th anniversary of Marvel Studios. It looks like it's going to be quite the bang that they're going to go out on.
It's so hard to end something like that. I mean, how many, aside from the Bob Newhart show, or Newhart. Aside from Newhart, I mean, how many great TV endings are there? I mean, great TV endings. Lost, no. Battlestar Galactica, no.
Yeah, there were only a handful of, seminal, talking about like MASH is a good ending.
Right.
But this will be fine. And it's probably not going to be an ending because there's always an open door for more movies.
Oh, right. I mean, you just introduced the Black Panther. In the last 2 movies, you just introduced Miss Marvel. So you're setting up a different Marvel
you have Captain
universe.
Marvel. You have you still have Ant-Man. You have all these other characters that have crawled out of the woodwork, so to speak. So it'll be fine. It'll be kind of weird to potentially not see. Maybe he'll do like a Wolverine and appear in 7 more movies, but maybe Robert Downey Jr. is done after this.
Well, I think he's done. Captain America's done.
Yep.
Chris Evans, as well as I think Chris Hemsworth is done. I think Thor is done too. He's not coming back.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think who.
Well, like Scarlett Johansson. Yeah. But I mean,
maybe she finally gets her own movie. I think she's the one without one.
I know, seriously.
I finally did see Ant-Man. It's okay. And then we talked about that.
Yeah. I hadn't seen either Ant-Man yet.
I mean, funny thing is, I really like Paul Rudd, but and it was okay. I mean, we talked about it. The best part about the Ant-Man and Wasp movie was the hidden scene.
Oh, right, yeah.
Where he's in the quantum zone or whatever.
Spoilers.
When it came out 8 months ago.
But that's like yesterday.
Darth Vader is Luke's father.
Oh, please.
So we got that. All right, let's move on. You excited about the Oscars?
I'm never excited about the Oscars.
You know who was excited about the Oscars yesterday?
Kevin Hart.
He was very excited, tweeting and Instagramming how this is a dream come true. He's finally made it. Not so fast.
Right. Yeah, it turns out that yet another comic is haunted by old tweets. He's not a big fan of the gays. I'm gonna dial that back.
No, him and The Rock have a great relationship.
Hey, wait a minute. I can't condone anything of that nature legally. What was I going to say? Well, in 2011, he had an anti-gay kind of comment, and several prior to that. And then even in one of his routines, he said if you saw his kid growing up to potentially be gay, he'd knock it off. You have to nip it in the bud. That was, a while ago. People do change. People do grow. But, when it's you're hosting an event that's referred to as the gay Super Bowl, you maybe want somebody who's maybe...
That's not the Tonys?
Right. So the Tonys are more like the gay Oscars. So this is the gay Super Bowl. I think also Billy Eichner, who, Billy on the Street, he's like a big comedian. He was like a huge like LGBTQ guy who was on social media and said like, really, Oscars, you're going to have this guy, who's got these sentiments. And, it's like even just like his non-apology right off the bat, like him defending himself, which most comics of his generation will do. Is just like, either double down or... most comics who are worth anything, especially Kevin Hart, probably the most successful comedian of his generation, sold out, football stadiums, concert movies. He's been in multi-million-dollar blockbusters with The Rock, and like he was in the latest Jumanji. He did not apologize. He was saying, look,
Why should he apologize for Jumanji? I thought it was fine.
See what you're doing here? But then afterwards he was like, oh, okay, I do apologize. And but he bowed out. I don't know.
His apology was, who knew facts were so sensitive? 2, 3, 4.
I want to dub in like a wind blowing sound effect,
a tumbleweed going through. Yeah.
Like it's just some sort of a hawk playing in the whatever. Anyways,
but that's one of those things. It's like everybody has said something dumb before or whatever. I mean, honestly, let's not get out the Trump whistle yet. But seriously, Benedict Donald is the his tweets haven't come back to haunt him. He still gets to.
Well, do we really want to compare anybody?
No,
to
no. But
Trump?
He hasn't had the most enlightened. But then again, and I don't want to defend it, but at the same time, if it's a joke or whatever, it's like.
But it was more of a sentiment. I think it was sort of pointed out that he might. A joke is one thing, but there was really there was no nuance in his comments. He was just sort of like, no, it's like if my kid turned out that he's like wants to come home and play with dolls or something, I'm saying, no, that's gay. Like there was no joke. It was just like, no.
It's just driving.
That was a sentiment. It was like, there was no nuance. There was no, hey, I'm being the old-fashioned guy who thinks the old way, but I'm, in real life, I'm open to all people. No, he was just sort of kind of like,
and also, being in California, I didn't know this. It really surprised me, and I don't want this to come across like a blanket sweeping thing like it is going to sound, but the black community is more anti-gay than I would have been led to believe. And one thing that I will never forget is it was called Proposition 8. It was on the same ballot with Barack Obama, and it was something like, black voters, it was like 65-70% voted against gay marriage on the same ballot that Barack Obama became president, like in the same breath. It's like, great, we finally get somebody in the White House. Oh, fuck these guys. You know what it's like? So,
Yeah.
I mean, Kevin Hart is a product of probably, and I don't want to say that makes it okay.
Yeah.
But,
We're a product of that generation.
oh, yeah, big time.
Yeah.
Seriously.
I mean, do you know how many F words I have to bleep out of this podcast just to make it on the air?
3?
Yeah. Okay, give or take. And that's just me.
Oh, but yeah, so Kevin Hart, but
He backed down and he said he didn't want to be a distraction and whatever. That's now we're on the hunt is on. Who do you think is going to be the next host of the Oscars?
next to right, I'm trying to think. It's between, I really don't know and I don't give a fuck.
Yeah.
Except I'm going to go with the great author Stephen King, not the guy who wrote manuals in the forward of that comedian's book, but the Stephen King, the one in Maine, is really, really pushing for Patton Oswalt.
Yeah.
Like more than Patton Oswalt is pushing. And he's like, the guy loves movies. He's really funny. You know, he'd be perfect for it.
Right. No skeletons in his closet, that we know of.
That we know of. Let him run for office.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Well, none on Twitter that the layman can comb through.
Yeah. He's always been on the right side of, political correctness, if you will. I don't know, but
Even when he's not, he makes it into his routine about how he can't keep up with the latest terms for transgender.
And he's great. Yeah, he does have a great one about, and I won't try to besmirch his good name by doing the routine, but he does have a couple great routines about that. You have any thoughts towards it?
No, I saw it coming. I saw as soon as people were starting to harp on that and knowing Kevin Hart-ish, how headstrong he is and he doesn't need the hassle. Going into this search for the Oscar host, there was an article, I think, in Hollywood Reporter or Variety that said, the Oscars are really having a tough time finding a host. The thankless job, and it's just like, yeah, because everybody who goes into it for the most part comes out looking either like shit or they didn't do a good enough job. Seth MacFarlane came in. He did, I think, a good job, a funny job, but he was criticized for the misogynistic tone that the opening number had. Do you remember his opening number?
I do, and that's the thing. You're going to find you can't appease everybody.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So you can please some of the people most of the time, and most of the people some of the time, but you can't please all the people all the time.
Because last time you said you can fool all the people all the time. And that's a shame. I mean, MacFarlane, he was on the early. He was ahead of the bell curve on that whole
Harvey Weinstein.
Right.
I
mean, years before, and he made public things about it. But yeah, somebody's going to be offended by something. So
yeah, so I guess it'll either be like Ellen DeGeneres or I don't think Billy Crystal's alive. No, he's maybe they'll. I don't know. Maybe they'll just go with I want to say Tiffany Haddish. Do you know who she is? She's the
no.
Okay,
I don't know.
She is a black comedian woman, and she's sort of a darling of the award show circuit. I think she was actually presenting last year at the Oscars and made a big splash, and I don't know. So
who are the people who do the Rose Bowl parade every year? Are those
Cord and Tish?
Are Cord and Tish available? I think they'd be fantastic.
Tim Meadows is available. I'll tell you that.
Well, yeah. You know how I know that. You said Tim Meadows.
Oh, come on, he's a nice guy.
So last week we talked that George Herbert Walker Bush's health has taken a turn for the worst. This week, since we've talked about it a week ago, dude, it's been a week of pomp and circumstance, and I get most of it. But today, however, I guess they flew his body from Washington back to Houston and loaded it on some train that he liked, that they painted the color
of the Air Force One.
And so I'm driving, and I'm listening to the radio, and a reporter was like, "Oh, we're getting a report. It should be driving by here in about." I'm like, I'm listening to the radio of somebody talking about a train driving by.
That's old school, man.
That's.
Did you hear the bells of the train crossing?
It was that vivid, and somewhere in the distance, I heard a dog barking. It was it was the I'll say it, the highlight of the it wasn't a funeral. What do you call it?
A procession or
With all the ex-presidents sitting together.
That was a service. Yeah, it was a memorial
Whoa.
service. Mm-hmm.
Do you remember?
That was like the Avengers of presidents.
Dude, that was epic. That was an epic, colossal display of just how dysfunctional. I mean, literally how dysfunctional that fuck is. Mm-hmm. Like, even in these moments, what I love is like, this is help me with the word, evangelical.
Evangelical.
Yet he was the only one of the presidents who didn't know the words to these hymns that were being sung.
Not that he didn't know the words. He would not read the paper on which the words were printed.
Could he read the words? I mean,
he doesn't read. He doesn't read his briefings. Why would he read a goddamn hymnal?
So he, got the handshake from George W., got the awkward handshake from Barack.
And Michelle.
The Clintons wouldn't look at him.
Not true.
Bill gazed over.
And you know what? There is a moment before they start shaking hands with the other presidents that Hillary Clinton looks over and gives a sort of an acknowledging nod toward the Trumps.
Okay.
And then when the handshake starts, that's when she's laser focused into that podium. She is not turning her head.
And he didn't go over and shake or even acknowledge Jimmy Carter.
Right. Well, he was too far away. And he's old.
Well, that's right. I mean, he's 71. Jimmy Carter is like 904. If you do the math. Mm-hmm. And he wasn't even, but just that whole, and every time people went up, it was one of those things where people, like, when they were talking about George Herbert's honesty and integrity and war service and service to the country and philanthropy and all this other stuff, they landed on a little dick.
I don't know. I think you're right. Do you think they were doing it in spite of the present company?
I think maybe.
No,
his body language kind of.
No, I don't think they laid it on to. I don't think they were there to troll Trump. I think they were there to genuinely honor a man that they may have revered and loved.
How many pieces of candy at state funerals does W have to give Michelle before we forget about the Iraq War?
I don't think there's enough in Wonka's vault to satisfy.
But you saw that whole thing, and
that was sort of a callback,
right? And it's a funny little thing, but it's like, don't media, because the guy there now is so horrific. Let's not forget, we're still in Iraq, we're still in Afghanistan. The economy completely crashed around him, and he was the one that gave GM the bailout so that they could afford to move their plants out of the U.S.
Right, but I think you can't ignore that sort of moment of levity at such a solemn occasion.
Agreed.
And you can't. It's almost like a breath of fresh air. Like, oh my God, there are two dignitaries who are sharing a sort of a. They're like, yes, one started two wars, but
one has a best-selling book.
Yes, one has a best-selling book, but they're sharing a moment, and it's just a moment in time, and it's something that, like, you don't if you don't read too far into it, you can just sort of accept and move on. Like, for fuck's sake,
I think and the fact that they're in different parties, couldn't it be more different parties? You know, I do. I mean, as much as I hate every Republican I've ever met ever. Sorry, Jim. I
think it's also nice to see Republicans
nice to see. Yes.
and Democrats getting along in some capacity. Just like for one day, look, George W. Bush, let's not make him out to be the saint. I mean, yes, he was an honorable man, with a man with integrity, but he also, kind of suppressed the AIDS epidemic. Iran-Contra. He got into it with Saddam Hussein. That's probably what defeated him, was that he didn't finish the job.
Right. So, it's and it is. You put some things aside. You're right. It's a nice moment between Michelle and W. And I'm glad that it's over now. Now we can get back to hating Trump.
Exactly. I mean, for 364 days this year in 2018, we're going to just hate, and then all. Okay. I mean, and then also to see George Bush kind of break down at the end, it's like, all right, at the end of the day, he is human.
It's his dad.
It's his dad. Yeah, exactly. So it's just like, okay, he is a.
I mean, I cried, at my dad's passing, but that's only because I got the bill from the hospital.
See,
we all see the impression of my dad.
we all grieve in our own ways. But I don't know. I'm not going to miss George W. Bush. I'm not going to. But just what played in the back of my mind is that one other thing that I saw today. So today, on Friday, they buried George H.W. Bush, and the Secret Service put out their final notice about their watch over George H.W. Bush. Like, they basically followed him literally to the grave. And I'm like, wow, what a, A, waste of taxpayers' money, but B, kind of an honor to have, and just to be able to, just the idea of that sort of duty being instilled, to this day for, somebody who serves as the president. Donald Trump is going to get that same exact treatment. And he's going to get the same exact parade.
No, I do not think he does. Did Nixon?
I remember. You know what happened when Nixon died? I don't remember how. Yeah, honestly, I don't remember the procession.
We'd have to look it up because I don't think Nixon. First of all, and I also like to say, you said the word duty. I did not laugh or giggle over like that.
I tend to mumble.
Did you ever see the movie Guarding Tess?
No.
It is with Raising Arizona.
With Nicolas Cage.
Nicolas Cage. It's a really good movie. He's a Secret Service guy for a former president who was a Secret Service guy while he was president. I don't remember if he was assassinated or died in office or shortly after office, and he stayed on to take care of his wife, and they had a very contentious relationship, so to speak. It's a really, really good movie about what you're saying, and it turns out that she realized that this was the son that was worthy of her husband and her actual children who
were of privilege or scumbags,
and this guy really loved her husband and stuff and it wasn't a job, and he stayed on to take care of her because he loved him so much and stuff. It's a good movie, but it's an interesting thing.
I think this funeral and all these proceedings is sort of a national reminder that there can be honor and dignity in the office of the White House and in government.
You know what? Here's the tough thing about me jumping on the bandwagon with that. As much as I just said it was nice that W, Republican president, and Michelle Obama, the same day that's happening, you follow what happened in Wisconsin.
Oh, right, about how the outgoing Republicans are changing the threshold of power or the balance of power, so the incoming Democratic governor won't have as much power as its predecessor.
And it had to be signed off by the current governor, who literally his last action is taking away the power that he just had for the last 8 years. The same thing happened 2 years ago in North Carolina. A Republican or a Democrat governor won in North Carolina, and they did the same thing. On the eve of them losing power, they passed a bill that got signed by that governor, taking almost all the power, basically making him the Queen of England. I mean, just a complete figurehead. And that's happening in a couple states, but the worst one is in Wisconsin, where they got their ass kicked.
Yep.
And so on the way out, they transferred all the power to the one branch that they are still in control of,
the legislature.
And it's just, and that is in one of the more gerrymandered states. And even with all the it's one of those things where if 3 million votes were cast total, 1 million more went to the Democrats. Obviously, the state wants the Democrats in there, and they're still doing this to hold on to power. And so it's
You're right. Fuck dignity and honor in the government.
Right. It's like, while that's going on in Washington and people are saying, oh, this is nice, you didn't hear anything from Paul Ryan, still the Speaker of the House, saying, hey, as the leader of the Republican Party now, or Mitch McConnell stand up and say, look, that's goes against everything that, so if you couldn't take away the people's votes, you took away what they voted for, and so, and again, that's one party. Like the Democrats won in states they haven't won before, and they haven't instantly turned around and said, we're now restricting, taking everybody who ever voted Republican and taking them off the voting log. Anyway, so it's hard to say that. But I want to get back into something a little different.
What's that?
As a general rule, we because of who is in our leadership are kind of being laughed at literally around the world. Now we're going out of our way to flaunt stupid.
Oh yeah,
you
hot blonde stupid.
And what was it, the 40th anniversary of SNL where Jane Curtin was doing the news, and she said, when I was doing the fake news, I was a young, good-looking blonde giving fake news. Now there's a whole network of me. And it had like a montage of all the blonde, ladies, two of which are now ambassadors. One of which, the ambassador to Canada, and
Kelly Craft.
Kelly Craft.
Is that her name, Kelly Craft?
Kelly Craft. her husband, is only about 40, maybe closer to 50 years older than her, and is a
coal magnate.
Coal magnate. Right. I mean, if you said this was his granddaughter, you would believe it when you saw the picture. At least 40 years younger. She's now the ambassador to Canada. And when asked, because Canada is very conscious about global warming and changes in the environment, she believes in both sides of the science.
Both sides of the science. Yeah.
And I just saw so many great memes. It's like, we think you have cancer, but I might not. So I'll take both sides. Or
hey, there's a light and dark side to the moon.
There really is.
There are two sides to science. Hey, the Earth is flat, so we have the north side and the south side.
And then, how do you say this other woman's name? Heather
Nauert?
She, an ex-Fox commentator who became a Trump surrogate. She was very famous last year when she was sent over to speak at a was it in Norway where where Normandy happened, like the beach? It was like what was it? It was like the
God, dude,
whatever anniversary she went over.
Oh, with the D-Day,
and she wanted, and she was speaking with like. Forget exactly the setup, but she was talking about the great relationship that the United States has had with Germany for years, because you go back to like D-Day and Normandy, because we were both there. And it was one of those things that's like, yes, you are correct.
Right. That was the height of German-U.S. relations.
Was it? Joe, was it over when the Germans bombed Pearl Harbor?
I believe in both sides of the war. Wait.
I mean, well, the sad thing is many in this administration, I'm thinking we're siding with the Germans. But that's who's now representing the United States at the UN. The woman who thought Germany was part of the Allied forces that landed at the beach. And here's the thing. Did nobody proofread her speech? I mean, because this was a big speech that she had gave in front of a lot of dignitaries, and nobody kind of.
Or maybe they did.
Or maybe, and that's what we're putting out there. Those are our ambassadors: young, blonde, ex-Fox News. Are
you trying to get me aroused right now?
I don't know.
That's working.
So last week we joked about everything that was said about Hillary and how awful she was, and she was going to do this, and the emails, and the this, and the that, and the Pizzagate thing. And I said, because of all the things that have come to light that they blamed her or said she was going to do, that they have now done, we should start scouring the pizza parlors around the TC area looking for the basements. Yeah, fun fact. Since the last podcast and this one, the Miami Tribune had broken a huge story, and I don't know how much you followed that our Secretary of Labor, Alex Acosta, while he was the Attorney General for the state of Florida, the FBI had conducted a huge investigation into a billionaire who was running a child sex ring, who he and his billionaire buddies were rounding up 14 and 15-year-old girls doing you know, what awful people do with 14, 15-year-old girls, and getting them to recruit other ones. And his name is Joe Epstein. And
Joe or Jeff?
Jeff. I'm sorry, Jeff. And as Attorney General, he let him plead down to 2 counts, lower counts, gave him 18 months in truly a country club. Like he was, you know how pedophiles are treated in prison, generally speaking. You know, you've heard the stories.
I?
Yeah, completely set in a jail that wasn't meant to hold him. He was able to get work release 6 days a week, up to 12 hours. His work release, he wasn't picking up trash on the highway. He got to go to his offices
and work
and work. Yes, he got to work on his stuff during his work release. Sexual predators are not allowed to get this kind of work release. Here's the real kicker. They didn't inform any of the victims that the plea was being made because they're supposed to have their day in court. They're supposed to be able to face their accuser. They're supposed to also have a say in it. We're not talking 2 or 3. And even if we're just talking 1 or 2, but we're talking dozens and dozens. And the FBI was still investigating, coming up with more. We're talking dozens of girls, and they shut the investigation down, gave him complete immunity, and something that had never happened before, that nobody in the state of Florida can find records of happening before. All the co-conspirators, whether we know them or be unknown and find out about them later, yes, they all get a free pass because you're going to plead to these 2 counts and go to jail-ish for 18 months. All of your cohorts are off the hook, and we're talking dozens of men. Dozens of very powerful men. This has just come out that's our Secretary of Labor. That's what he was pulling, and now just finally, you know, they're going back and they're paying restitution. But there's some people who don't want restitution. There's a lot of these victims who are coming out saying, "I don't want restitution."
Life in jail.
Right? He raped me, you know, and my friends, and this, and all his buddies were in on this. But this guy gave blanket immunity to all those people. So. Hate to rain on the parade, but Merry Christmas, everybody. Another rich billionaire gets to do whatever the fuck he wants.
Merry Christmas, you old pedophile, you.
I don't even want to talk. You don't have to get out the Trump whistle. I am done. I'm done. We won't talk about Mueller or what else was it?
Oh, Mueller. Yeah, the Mueller's got stuff coming up, man. Oh, boy. It'll be Christmas next week. Don't worry.
It's bad. Or, you know, what? I mean, here's what I love. The whole Mike Flynn thing. Did you see the redacted?
Oh, yeah. I like the one person tweeted out, respect our flag. And it was the first line where you could see, like, the defendant is, and then it's just like all bars. Like, just literally like 10 black bars. And it looks like the American flag.
It's like, why do you even waste the paper?
I know.
Which I'm fine with. But I guess when Mueller says, I recommend the low end of sentencing to no jail time because of his outstanding cooperation and the investigations, plural. Like, I think he named it like the 7 investigations going on.
Right, including one into an individual one.
What I love is, like, I saw it only on Twitter because so many people were forwarding it. Some woman screaming about how all us libtards just don't get it, that Mike Flynn is a patriot, and she is begging people to go to the, like, Mike Flynn, like, relief fund for his lawyers. It's like, dude, he, you know, it's all the fake lamestream media that's saying he flipped, that he's a real patriot. It's like, did you not read any of this? Did you not? So, anyways.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. All right. Are we going to get back to, like, laughing?
Does anybody, how far are we?
Does anybody remember laughter?
No. I do. Okay. Can we go into my self-indulgent theater, or what I've pitched for self-indulgent theater?
Go ahead.
So I sprung this on Joe mere moments before he changed the battery on the recorder, that on the drive over, listening to a couple of the songs we're going to play at Uncharted and Lowell Friday, December 14th. And Joe keeps talking. It's one of my favorite bits when Joe does his It's a Wonderful Life. I'd also wouldn't mind if it was Mr. Sanders, Senator Sanders, Paul Lynn. Maybe you can do a song as Paul Lynn. Next week, do a Paul Lynn. But right now,
Oh, boy.
So Dan has a song that we're going to do called Firing Line. It's one of my favorite songs. It's a typical Dan Cray love song. And I would like Joe to read the lyrics to Firing Line as read by Jimmy Stewart from It's a Wonderful Life.
There's nothing left to say. We've said it all before. It's everything we've said that's led to this. There's nothing left to do. We've done it all to death. It's time we've closed its eyes and laid our love to rest. It cuts like I'm being carved up from the inside, see? It aches like my hollowed-out gut's been packed with ice, and that's just half of the weight of your sigh. That's why I pray they aim straight and I smile at the firing line. Was it worth the cost? The never-ending fight? Are you any better off, love, now that you've proved you're right? Light my last cigarette. My hands tied. Brush your lips across my cheek and pull the blindfold tight. Gosh darn it. Ta-da!
It's fantastic. I really liked that song before, and now it might be my favorite.
And you can remix that all you want, Dan.
Before we get into this week's defunct sponsor, I would like to point out two things. Last week's defunct sponsor, I want it.
What was last week's defunct sponsor?
It was the Tony and Phil Esposito hockey game.
Oh, the tabletop hockey game.
And if you can't find that, if we could just isolate the music in the background, because it was
like early ABC Monday Night Football.
It was pretty, a little. It was great. It was great. And cleaning, taking the last couple bins, unpacking, only been in the house a year, found a couple gifts for Joe. And you noted that the not middle school.
This is Spinal Tap?
This is Spinal Tap book was
It has a price tag on it, and it has a defunct sponsor on it. Building 19, $3.98.
That book has got. I didn't even look. Is there an inscription? Was that given to me by anybody?
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
Because it was given to you by the good people of Building 19.
Well, that was those defunct sponsors. What do you think about this defunct sponsor?
Hey, CBS, what's coming on?
Friday, blast off to a galaxy far, far away. It's the Star Wars Holiday Special, starring all your Star Wars favorites. Will Chewbacca get home to his planet in time for the big Wookiee holiday celebration? Watch and find out. Then on Flying High, the girls put it on and take it off.
You know what?
What?
I don't think either one of us is going to get much sleep tonight.
Join us for a Far Out Friday, beginning at 8, 7 Central and Mountain.
You're on.
All right. So yesterday the Pats played in Miami, and finally they've lost going into that game 4 of the last 5 in Miami. It is the stadium, that in Denver are the two stadiums where Brady has his worst games. I don't mean just lost and has a losing record. Those are the only two stadiums he has a losing record. But awful, like some of his worst of the worst game. But finally they righted that wrong, I hope. This isn't that dated. But moving on to other football things, yes, in the past couple days, there's been a big announcement with the XFL. It is planning on moving forward.
Yep, it's coming back, baby.
It named cities.
Right, I think is the St. Louis?
Seattle's getting a team, and they're going to be using the same stadium that the Seahawks are in.
Huh. Well, this is supposedly taking place the week after the Super Bowl and running into April.
Right, but you would figure Seattle. I mean, and
well, they don't need the whole stadium.
but then you're also going to have 2 more competing leagues: the AAF and the
I think I'm a member of that.
And the FFL, and I believe it's the FFL is
the Fantasy Football League.
Well, it might be, but it's mostly being put together by old players like Terrell Owens and stuff like that. I'm dead serious. They are planning on being 3 late or early winter early spring football leagues in 2 years.
Nothing like football in late winter,
And
dead of February.
yeah, it is very interesting.
Is it all on Hawaii? Like, is that how they?
That would right.
The Hawaiian Football League.
So it's going to be interesting to see. And there's the bowl. I think McMahon will at least see this through a couple years, 2 to 3 years. I don't know if the other leagues even make it a year, but I think he has more money now than when he started the XFL before. I mean, the WWE or WWE, WWE, is as big as it's ever been.
God, yeah, it's probably the biggest it's ever been. Yeah,
but when you follow football like we do, there aren't enough quarterbacks in the NFL. There's a reason there's a 41-year-old quarterback here and a 36, 37-year-old quarterback, Aaron Rodgers, and a 39-year-old quarterback or 38-year-old quarterback, Drew Brees, and a 36, 37-year-old Philip Rivers, all having decent year. Well, Aaron Rodgers not having that great of a year, but I mean, you have all the quarterbacks doing well because there aren't enough good quarterbacks to go around. I mean, this is going to, and I think you saw on Twitter, there was a 99-yard run from scrimmage in the Jacksonville Jaguar Tennessee Titan game yesterday. I've never seen a guy get caught at like the 40 yards downfield and just shake off tacklers who made an effort to get there. And it's just like, I've never seen people dial it in more. Like, honestly, I've never.
Like they were checking their Instagram
it's like,
while they were doing the.
There's not enough good players to fill the 32 teams that are out there now.
Well, that didn't stop arena football, now did it?
Have you seen arena football? You haven't.
No, I have not.
There's a reason those guys are playing arena football.
But just think about like the travel, going from Seattle to say St. Louis in like the end of February.
I mean, just the cost of doing that,
and just like the potential for snow, blizzards. Like what's? I don't know. I guess they'll make it work. I mean,
do it with hockey and stuff. I guess.
Yeah, I guess so. So there's always a potential for that, and it's usually rare, and they would do a workaround or something like that. But I mean, so what are the XFL? You'll watch it, right?
Yeah,
you'll watch game.
I'll check out a couple. Well, here's the thing: it's like the suspended players, like Kareem Hunt, the guy who got thrown out of the. Well, he's on suspension in the NFL right now, and it's a lot of people think because he's young and he's so good, he will get another chance. I mean, Michael Vick, drowned dogs with his bare hands, and he got another shot at this.
Does Colin Kaepernick land anywhere?
Colin Kaepernick does not want to play football.
No, he's done.
No, well, he hasn't played in 3 years. This is something I get involved. I get into an argument with management about sometimes, and I'm like, why am I arguing with her? Because she's taking it from the liberal snowflake. Well, it's because he's this black protester. He's not getting jobs. It's like, no, he was a backup quarterback when that whole started, and I'm pro taking a knee. I'm pro Kaepernick in that movement. But what I'm not pro is he's a backup quarterback. If he wanted to play football, there's been football players who couldn't get jobs who went to Canada and played and worked their way back into the NFL. Doug Flutie, for instance. You could go down the list.
Flutie's part of the XFL now.
Is he? Is he one of the coaches or something?
Something like that. Like he's an owner or something. I don't know.
So if Kaepernick wanted to play, and the thing is, he doesn't want to play for backup money. He doesn't want to come in for $600,000, $700,000 a year.
Friggin' millennials, man.
It is. So when he lost, and that's the other thing, he had another year on his contract. The 49ers didn't get rid of him. He thought he was going to go get another starting job somewhere else. Is he, when he last played, when we last saw him, was he better than half the backups in the league? Probably, but you're not going to play a backup starter money, and he doesn't want to play for that money. At the same time, he doesn't want to be. I think people would take a publicity hit, from that other side if he was a Tom Brady, an Aaron Rodgers, a Drew Brees.
Right.
But you want your backup quarterback being the reason you're at the eye of this storm. And again, if he went to Canada and tore it up, it proved it's like, look, I'm better. A team, there'd be more of an outpouring. But anyway, but yeah, does Kaepernick play? But does Kareem Hunt, if he's suspended next year and the XFL comes, does he go and play there, or can he play there?
Yeah, well, we'll have to wait and see.
The other big sports thing this week is Seattle. It wasn't on there. Seattle was just awarded the 32nd NFL franchise because with Vegas, there's now 31 teams. Seattle
and NHL,
National
you said
Hockey.
NFL. Right?
Oh, sorry, National Hockey League. The first American-based hockey team to win the Stanley Cup was the Seattle Metropolitans, and I believe in 17, so that would be 7 years before the NHL started.
No one cares about your dinosaur hockey teams, Dad.
Biff, help me out here. John, anybody? So that wraps up in sports. So now let's get to what we're really here to talk about. Today's a big day.
It is a big day. Super Smash Brothers?
Go on.
Super Smash Brothers Ultimate has been released for the Nintendo Switch, exclusive, as we know.
I can't wait to go home and play it.
Or you can go upstairs and play it after the podcast because I went out and bought it. That's right. I'm weak.
You think they're going to let me play?
Right. Well, I think if we can hook up another controller to it, I think it's like 8 players or something like
Whoops.
that. But we bought it, and I'm sure it'll be very fun to play. I even went out and bought one of the new GameCube controllers that you can plug into the Switch using a GameCube adapter that was originally released for the Wii U, the Switch's predecessor. Every iteration of Smash Brothers since Smash Brothers Melee, which came out in like 2001 for the GameCube, has had, I think, some sort of a GameCube adaptability. Like, so when the Wii actually has GameCube ports on the side because it doubles as a GameCube emulator. Like, it was one of those things where like Nintendo was transitioning from its old GameCube to the new Wii. They made it so it was backwards compatible. And so far so is that you could actually plug in the old GameCube controller. So when Smash came out for that, they made it so that you could play with GameCube controllers. Apparently the GameCube controller is like the go-to for like Smash competitors. It's just ergonomically it all works well when playing Smash, because timing is everything, and it just I guess it makes it. It's like the performance-enhancing controller when it comes to playing Smash competitively. So I bought a new GameCube controller, which will actually play in my GameCube from 1999. So it's not like a weird like hybrid that it has like a new port on the end of it. It's like, no, you can plug it into any GameCube or anything like that and go.
Any GameCube.
Any GameCube.
So there's yours right here.
Yes.
There's one at the Smithsonian.
Right.
There's one at the Retro Expo that comes to town next year. Any of the 3 working GameCubes.
How dare you, sir? The GameCube is popular.
Are there more working GameCubes out there, or DeLoreans that are working
The
time
GameCube
machines?
is actually a workhorse. The Wii is probably more fallible than the GameCube, my friend. But so we're gonna, we'll have a weekend of, and when we're not partying at your family's on Saturday, well, even maybe when we're partying on your family on Saturday, maybe we'll bring it over. Who knows? Or should I not? Maybe I should.
Yeah, there's 100 people in that.
Right. They don't. And the TV will be gobbled up by other things.
Yeah, I'm hoping that if the TVs are on, it's on the U-Log channel. That's right.
Wait, you only have one TV?
Oh no, there's 2 big TVs at my parents.
Yeah, I understand. I know. Nobody has 2 TVs.
Well, you must be rich.
So there's so we got games, and and I like playing the game too. I like playing Smash. This has like a story mode too, so like I don't have to be like that guy that goes online and tries to get my ass kicked by whomever else to, I don't know, unlock the characters.
So when I came here, Joe had just put the disc in for the first time. So, my Dream Squashers and Your Hope Dashes all in one magical moment together, got to share the boot up screen to it. And that is Joe's oldest kid's go-to jam. And every time I see it, it's just this battle royale. You're on some kind of floating pedestal platform, battling. I never
That's
saw
all
a
it is.
story.
Well, I think you're right, exactly. Well, actually, 2 iterations ago of Smash. This is Smash 5, and I think on the third one they had a storyline. Like they had an adventure mode, and that was well received. But they skipped it when the last one came out. So now they're kind of going back to it and reincorporating it.
And are these story modes like, let's face it. I mean, Resident Evil is shooting zombies with a crossbow, but they have a decent story, in the back. Is this a story that you would say, akin to the Batman Arkham storylines or more of the sausage pizza delivery porn sausage lines?
I think there's a happy medium. I think we can find somewhere in between that it doesn't, titillate as much as the sausage pizza delivery guy. Why is it meant to be sausage? Oh, wait a minute. Oh, I get it now. This is, it's one of those things where you go from like the last adventure mode, it would be one of those platforming, almost like a Mario game, but in 3D, and you'd fight enemies along the way, and then you'd get to a next checkpoint, and then you'd beat a boss eventually, and then it would go to a cutscene, and then you go to another location, one of those kinds of things. So, and back then there was no dialogue. There was no spoken dialogue because it's Japanese or whatever.
Is this the last big game release of the year?
Yes, so this is the last big game release of the year. They actually had yesterday. They had the 5th annual Game Awards. It's like a big thing, like the Oscars for gaming,
And Kevin Hart hosted.
Right, yes. Nobody was offended by his presence. But Red Dead Redemption 2 was the big game, but it wasn't Game of the Year. God of War won Game of the Year.
Oh,
yeah.
That wasn't even on our radar.
Yeah, God of War is, it's a good. If you it's I don't know. Well, I have the original God of War 1 and 2 for the PlayStation 2, but this God of War is it was like a masterpiece. It was it looks beautiful. It played great. Had an emotional storyline and all that stuff. So
Spider-Man wasn't Game of the Year.
Spider-Man was nominated for Game of the Year and it did not make it. Yeah, so
it's like the Susan Lucci of games.
It was one year. It wasn't the Susan Lucci of games.
All right,
Susan Lucci.
Did any Spider-Man games win Game of the Year?
I think only one was nominated.
It's a yes or no. It's a simple question, Norm. A baby could answer it.
If you were stranded on an island and you were a hot dog, would you eat yourself?
I guess. You answered right, Norm.
Keep going.
I don't know the rest. I'm sorry, sir.
No, I would. I'd slather myself up with mustard. I'd be so delicious.
All right, so now Jacques is leaving comedy for a second to go to my wall of games so that we can continue this farce of me reviewing video games randomly. Just pick any old fucking game off the shelf. I don't care if I've already seen it. I don't care if You know what? Guess what? Let's assume that nobody listens to our podcast. It's going to be always new. We could do the same game every week, and then everybody listening would not remember the previous week. And by the way, I have 2 GameCubes. Just so you know, I have 2 GameCubes. I'm looking.
Nobody has 2 GameCubes.
Right. No, you're right there. It looks like you pulled out a. I'm going to say a PlayStation 3 game, and it's not Grand Theft Auto, and it's not The Last of Us. So GHIJK. What is it? I'm gonna say. Oh man, what is it? I'm gonna hit myself, which I usually do every night, but I can't think of what it could be. It's what's the first letter?
H.
It is an H game, and it's PlayStation 3. God damn it, I don't know, man. I don't know. No, I don't know. I do not know that. You got to clean it out. Oh, Heavy Rain. That was, yes. Haven't finished this game. This is the director's cut. Heavy Rain for the PlayStation 3, exclusive to the PlayStation. They re-released it for the PS4. It's, one of those, great... it's kind of a play X to win, or push X to win kind of games where it's more about story than actual gameplay. This is where I think you start off in a mall and you're a father of a son who goes missing. And You're calling for the sun throughout the entire game, throughout the entire opening scene. Like you're going through this crowded mall, and I forget the kid's name, but it's a meme on social media. Anybody who's into the games knows this meme because that's all you do. You push the button and you call his name. It's like Craig or something like that, or I forget it. I forget. But then that propels you into the story. Maybe I'm thinking of Last of Us. No, Heavy Rain. Oh, wait. I'm confused. I'm a confused individual who pretends to have a podcast.
Well, some days when a boy loves a woman.
Heavy Rain. Let's see. A rash of serial killings have struck fear into the hearts of men. No, I tried to read it, but it was not open. Into the hearts of an East Coast city. Someone is terrorizing the city's sons, drowning them and leaving an origami figure in their lifeless hands as a ghastly signature. The authorities have no leads, and the public is consumed by fear and suspicion. Sounds like a certain society that we live in today. But this is, it's a very good, mature game. Worth your time, and it's available on PS4. So I would say go out and buy it. And it's not expensive, and it doesn't like. It's not like
it's not.
It doesn't gobble. I don't think it doesn't gobble up your time too much. It's a nice steady. If you stick with it, which I do not. It's a good. I don't know, 10 hours.
Well, maybe it's only expensive if you get the director's cut.
Why? How much is it going for? Oh, somebody's selling it for $27.89.
But that's pretty much the medium I'm seeing on director's cut online.
I guess so. Yeah, maybe the PS4 version is like $39.99. I haven't really looked into it. I lie. I basically lied to you. I said it's not expensive, and it could be like a $50 game still, and I don't know.
It's not available on the Cube though.
It is not, but you can't use a GameCube controller on it for some reason.
Fantastic.
Okay.
So I haven't watched much this week. But, I'm sorry, I watched a lot of Pat's highlights because they crushed the Minnesota Vikings. That's 2 weeks ago now. But I did see on Netflix, and it's really interesting, and I want to talk about this while we're still on gaming, Minecraft Story Mode on Netflix. Did you see this?
No, is it like, it's an animated adventure?
It's a Telltale game. Like, we have it for both the PlayStation and on one of the other platforms that we have.
What, do they just splice the cutscenes together to make a movie?
It's the movie, but so we went to play it on, so I see it, and the boys are sitting there. I'm like, what the hell is this? And the trailer, it was the same game. It's, again, Patton Oswalt is the lead character in it, the guy who should be hosting the Oscars, or as you like to call it, the gay Super Bowl.
That's not what I call it.
The Super Bowl for the gays. Anyways, no, but it's one of the Telltale games. And so I pressed play, and I get the message that says, oh, you need to play this on an OSI device or
an iOS.
iOS device.
Like an Apple.
I'm old!
That's an Apple device.
And so it did. It's like you can play this on your tablet or your phone, but you can go to Minecraft, or you can go... And it's interesting because, like I said, it was put out by Telltale. It was one of those Telltale games, and as far as I know, they're... a future sponsor.
Oh, right. Yeah, right. That's right. Yeah. They're gone. Telltale Games is going.
So whoever owns, the Minecraft must maybe license them to make the game, but they control the rights because it's the same game. So when it was showing you, the preview and stuff like that, and you have to make decisions, this guy comes and he offers an apple,
It's like a choose your own adventure kind of thing.
Right.
Oh, the future of entertainment, I guess.
Or the future that's on Netflix now, but it's been around for a couple of years. But I thought it was interesting that Netflix has, gotten into that.
Yeah. And they paid $100 million for, what was it? Like some crazy amount of money for another season of Friends?
There was... Yeah, because they were going. They have all 10 years of Friends, and they were going. It was going to expire, and people lost their shizzles.
Yeah.
But there was a really good skit commercial on Saturday Night Live.
Oh, I saw a bit of it. Yeah.
About Netflix, that they have so much content that by the time you get done scrolling down their choices, new ones they've already shot new ones that complete, and it showed like the Netflix the movie scrolls like in the infinity logo. It's like, and we complete the it was much funnier than I'm saying.
Yeah, right. It's much funnier than the original comedy.
But that's my thing. If you
God, what have I been? I've been watching a lot of Mystery Science Theater 3000. Like I'm kind of stuck on that Pluto TV. That talk about old school, man. That's a service. It's supposed to be like I talked about it a couple of weeks ago. It's this app that you can get on some smart TVs, and you can go to a website, Pluto.tv, and you can also download the app for your smartphone and tablet, where it's streaming. It's like a cable guide setup. Cable guide, and they have a Mystery Science Theater channel as one of the channels that you can watch, and they show commercials, and I'll sit through the commercial. The commercial breaks are like, a minute long or maybe a minute and a half. They're not as long as like say TBS, which has like 3 minute long, 4 minute long commercial breaks. And I'll sit through the commercials just to watch like old Mystery Science Theaters that I haven't seen before. So much so that like even though they offer Mystery Science Theater episodes on Netflix commercial free, I'll still kind of like absorb the programming. Like talk about like giving up on life. That's the first sign of something going awry in someone's life. If you want to reach out to somebody in your life that you love, that you think is being isolated and weird, check to see if they're watching commercial free or commercial television on Pluto TV, because that's what I've been doing. Yeah, I just, I'll flip between that, and then the Riff Tracks has their own channel. I watch that. Those are my stories. I kind of like, I'm hanging out with Joel and the Bots, hanging out with Mike Nelson. It's a pretty pathetic life. I'm not proud of it. I was basically biding my time until Smash came out, and now I can focus all my energy towards that.
Will you actually play Smash, or will you just not be able to get the TV?
I know I'll play Smash. Yeah. Oh,
Who will your character be?
I don't know. I'll probably start with Mario and go from there. I like Mega Man, I guess. I don't know. I'm not Samus Aran, maybe. I don't know. Basically,
not going to be the Inklings.
I could be the Inklings if I wanted to be, but probably not. I might be Rob the Robot. I kind of like Rob the Robot. The robotic operating buddy that used to come with the original Nintendo. Do you remember when they first came out with Nintendo in '85? They sold it with a robot that played a game. Oh, okay. ROB, robotic operating buddy. It was
my buddy,
my buddy,
my robotic buddy,
my robotic buddy. But it was long story short. It was one of those short-lived. Like, it's not a video game because the video game market had crashed. It's a entertainment system, including a robot, and kids like robots, and it's a toy, and they sold in the toy aisle, and it was a whole thing. And it was basically a foot in the door for Nintendo back into the video game market and back into people's homes. It was like, oh, well, it's not like this is the future of video games. This isn't like your shitty Atari and ColecoVisions that you've piled up in your basement for years with the cadre of bad games.
And 2 GameCubes.
Yeah, and 2 GameCubes. Now, ironically enough, the 2 games on which the ROB, the Rob robot worked with, are the 2 worst games for the Nintendo Entertainment System, in my opinion. But
E.T.
Right? No, that's Atari. But then now that they've incorporated that as a Smash Brothers character, so that's Rob the Robot. Wasn't that exciting? Is there any parenting tip or anything you want to talk about?
I'm thinking my parenting tip is it's probably best if you have a 8-year-old son who breaks a Nintendo Switch to do it at a friend's
How dare he?
Do it at a friend's house, in which you can't make him go outside and pick a Switch to deal with it.
Wait, so wouldn't that be the most ironic thing? Like, go get the Switch for breaking the Switch.
So that would be my parenting tip. That, and we'll do a follow up next week. We've taken off the fat shaming of me for a week or two.
Oh, it's the holidays, man.
But we'll also find out of how true I held on to the absolutely no screens. You know what? I don't even want him looking out a car window for the next week, because that's almost like a screen.
Oh, man. Right. Don't even have him go through a screen door. No. Like, just no.
Oh, he might go through one. It's just not going to be open first.
See, I set him up. He knocks him down, baby. That's how it works in this town.
I'm gonna knock him down. All right.
Right. Oh man, you are not happy.
Way too many witnesses around in this.
He is not joking, folks. I would keep an eye on this family.
But do you have a parenting tip?
God, no.
So we'll leave it off by thank you everybody again. For the two people who live in the area who don't know, that would be Peter and Steve. Make sure you're at Uncharted in Lowell next Friday, 9:00 to see Dan Cray and Beyond Id.
I was laughing because neither Peter nor Steve listen to the podcast. But
All right,
Floor, tell Steve.
You're going to the show.
Right.
Have him stay home with the baby.
Yes, exactly. It's a girls' night out.
And it's ladies' night tonight. Little Blues Brothers reference.
Uh-huh. I got it. So what are we going out on?
Well, let's see. You've already done firing line, so we're playing a little capo low.
Okay. That's what we're going out on. So, Jacques, what a wonderful, magical night this was. Hopefully we'll get to continue next week on Carnival Personnel. But until then, just don't forget